Okay, hello Kimi, how are you?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, let's begin. Well, Kimi, with 10% less downforce in the car, what will be the key to get a good balance with this Alfa Romeo in 2021?
Yeah, obviously, it's the same for everybody, but I don't know how much we have less or if we have less. And obviously, when the rule change was implemented, the effect straight away wasn't huge, but obviously they've been gaining and gaining, and they always found a way to get to the levels that we were last year and probably even more at some point. But the designing has been done that obviously should be as let's say good balance as possible straight away. Obviously, then there comes as an error. And then there comes all normal setup work, and depending on conditions and weather and tires and this and that. So it's always endless kind of area where I guess you're never satisfied 100% in the end, because they're always going to compromise, because there's a wind that is, so you have a headwind, one place you have tailwind, and I think the wind effect, like here, now 2 days has been really windy and pretty hot yesterday, windy today. The wind is 180 degrees in different directions. Obviously, it changes the whole picture. The corners that were very good yesterday with the headwind, and then we had some corners that was difficult with the tailwind, and now it's opposite. So that really plays a big part, and then you try to make the best out of it, whatever the condition is, and you have to change the car because of those issues. But it's still early days, so we'll try to, I think, more like learn the car, learn what does what, and then obviously whenever the race week and the conditions are, to try to be ready to make the right changes.
Well, Kimi, thank you for your time. Due to these new regulations, are you going to change your driving style with this new Alfa Romeo C41?
No, honestly, the laps that I got yesterday, when it was a tricky condition, it feels very similar. Like, it's very hard to say. Obviously, we have different tires, but they are not night and day different. So, I think that if it would be a bit more, let's say, normal conditions, what we had here last year in the race, it was much more, let's say, cooler and calm winds. So it was more easy to compare, but it's not like we have. It was just the same chassis that we had last year, and same rear end more or less. So the aeros are slightly different because the new rules, but it's quite similar than the last year's car.
Yes, Kimi, last year was very important because you made a lot of progress on the last part of the year. Do you think that this progress will help you build up a little bit more of consistency along this season with 23 races?
We hope so, but yeah, we made some progress, even though they were tiny steps, but at least it was in the right direction. But for sure, we need to make a bigger, improvements. As I would say, whoever makes any improvements, they'll take it, but they always wish to make a bigger improvement. So again, it's never-ending area that people try to push forward and gain and make the car faster. But like I said, early days with this car, and we just need to try to go through the programs and learn, and then see where we are when the race comes, because we have no idea what the others are doing. So we just need to concentrate our own stuff, and we have a new engine. I'm sure it's better, but then you would expect the other engine manufacturers have done some improvements also. So where it's gonna take us, we have zero idea right now. So.
Kimi, on the paper, you are going to face the longest season so far in the history of the Formula One. How is your approach for this 2021 season?
No different. I think in the end, if it's 1 or 2 races more, when you have that many, it makes no difference anymore. But I think, last year was supposed to be a very long season, but it wasn't as a few time, wasn't that long, but we had a lot of races in a short period of time. So then there were most of them were European races, so it's more easy for the teams because everybody's based in Europe. So it really depends where we go. And I think we have let's say the schedule where we're planning to go, but this time of in the world, you never know. Things can change quickly in a few weeks, and we'll have to, see where we end up going during the year. But wherever it is, we'll always try to do the same. But obviously, like how to deal with 20 or 23 races or 18 races is no different.
Yes, well, Kimi, with your experience along the years in Formula One, obviously, we appreciate very much your opinion. It's about tires, and it's about the power unit that you are using this year. How can you help to make progress with these two areas in the team?
Obviously, we try to learn from both of them, but then in one hand, like the tires, they are what they are. Like it or not, or love it, it's what we get from Pirelli, and everybody has the same tires. And some conditions when it's hot, and they can be very tricky tires to get the best out of it. Sometimes they work very easily, and then other times it's the smallest difference makes a huge difference on lap time or how long they last. But I think yes, they are different from last year, but they are not massively different. So whatever we learn over the years, it's still applying, and then also we need to learn a bit more because they're slightly different. But I mean, like if you take the previous tires, I don't know how many years we run the exact same tires, you still keep learning, even end of last year, from them. So it's not like it never ends because the condition dictates a lot what happens with the tires, and every time is a slightly different condition. And so it's like even if you keep 10 years the same tires, I think you're always gonna learn, you're always gonna struggle in certain places and try to figure it out how to make it work. So it's it's in a way it would be nice that it would be tires that are working much easier and more consistent, because the workload that goes into on those tires that looks very basic, black round Pirellis, it's a huge part of the whole team's effort to try to just to figure it out that this and that, and that you get the maximum on the short runs and also on the long runs. So everybody, and then on the other side on the engine, obviously whatever we get from Ferrari, that's what we run. So I'm sure they're listening, we complain or something, or we have an issue, I don't know, pickup issue or something. Those things we work in our team with the Ferrari engineers. So obviously, like let's say 2014 with the new regulations and the complicated engine and all this game, we have issues with drivability and this and that, but these days they're such a good engines, how they work and how long they come from the starting point that you might have the tiniest amount of hesitation on the pickup sometimes, and when somebody says in the radio that I had hesitation, everybody likes I don't know, on the news or someone freaks out. Oh, he has an issue on the engine. It's a normal thing that it can be like a tiniest amount that if any normal guy drives it, he has no idea that even happened. So when we're talking about the pickup issue or I don't know, hesitation or misfire, it's like there's tiny things that happen once in I don't know 50 laps, but we pick it up and we want to try to solve it. So those are like the things that we usually talk about.
Yeah.
The engine is you have 3 engines a year, I think, and go with that.
Yeah.
Kimi, you're going to have a 1 hour less in the free practice for the year. So you think 3 hours is just enough to set up the car?
Yeah, no, they should be. I mean, when was it in last year was it in Imola or somewhere? We had like
It's
only
supposed to
one
be,
Similar.
yeah.
So, yeah, I think if you have an issue, obviously it's far from ideal. But let's say if everything runs smoothly and you have no issues, then in the end it's the same for everybody. And I think at the beginning of the year it might be more tricky because you're still learning a lot, and especially if you had a difficult test, you might wish to have a bit more time to learn and figure it out. But further you go in a year, obviously you learn more and you kind of end up with the setup that you kind of or in a more smaller area, and you change the smaller things always depending on conditions. So I think it's still quite a long time as long as you don't have some issue that you cannot run all of the practices and those are small.
Kimi, there's a lot of talking about how Formula One can transform it or change the format of the weekends. In your opinion, should it be make a difference on what really needs Formula One and sprint races on Saturday? What's your position on that?
I don't know exactly the rules. Like the rules like what tires you're allowed to use, are you forced to use some tires, or are we gonna have pit stops, or all kind of those things. I have no idea what they're planning, what's gonna happen. But I mean, if it's just like 30 minutes race or 20 lap race or something, and then plus we have a qualifying before.
Yes.
So it's very hard to see that it will make any difference because in the qualifying, the fastest cars will be there in front if nothing odd happens. So then if you have a 20 lap race, what's going to happen? I mean, yes, if there's an accident in the first corner or something like that, but like, let's say a more normal race, I don't see how that sprint race would suddenly completely change the starting grid for the Sunday race. So this is no different than qualifying in many ways. Now, if you take, I don't know, some races from the last 5 years and add them together and check after qualifying and after, I don't know, 20, 25 laps, who's leading, I'm pretty sure that 95% of the time it's the same people still there. Like that. I don't see how it's going to mix up the whole thing. But maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, there's a chance that on the start or something, there's something happening and this and that. But yeah, it's just different. I think they want to try and see what happens and maybe then try to make some new changes on that to try to make it more interesting. I don't know. And then I think also one that they want to hopefully get more people to watch because it's kind of race. You have 2 races, so it's more interesting to watch rather than practicing.
Well, Kimi, that's it. No more pain in this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kimi.
Have a good day.